and good evening. I'm Dr. Sal Benanti, and this is one of our life coach consultants, Kristen Huetz, and tonight we're going to be talking about faith in times of fear. And as those of you who've seen this before, this is unrehearsed. We don't have agendas other than coming and sharing our experiences and our insights and our perspectives about this topic, faith in times of fear. So certainly right now in the world, people are experiencing fear and people are experiencing faith. And many of us are experiencing both. And we're hoping that in our talk tonight will help encourage you, inspire you, perhaps help you have some insights as to what brings you closer to the fear side and away from the faith side. So I don't think I need to talk about fear. I think everyone knows what that is. But faith, I think, deserves a moment or two of clarification. The best definition I've ever heard of faith was that faith was belief without being sure. You know, there are no guarantees in life. And when we're able to believe in something, in someone, in a meaning or purpose in life, if we have a belief that's strong enough, that, dare I say, we're passionate enough about, something about that passion, that energy in the faith can be the very thing that helps move us through. And when we don't have that, we sometimes can just sink into the negativity of fear, part of the stress of fight or flight, either incredibly strong, vengeful ego or incredibly weak, sort of barely there ego. But to find that balance point that you can have your belief, something in which you have faith to pull you through your fear. As beautifully described many times by many people, that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the ability to move through fear. And when we have the courage of our convictions, when we have the courage to live what we have faith in, and it's good, and it's moral, and it's ethical, well, we got the whole shebang right there.
Yeah, faith. I guess sort of the way you can't have bravery without fear, you can't have faith with too many facts. Because if you have all the facts, then there's no need for faith.
That's
so. I have read similar things, and I couldn't pinpoint where, but and of course, faith right now. There are a lot of things that we can feel fearful about right now. And like everyone else, I'm sure I have my moments where I feel more fearful than other times. And I think back to the many, many times when you have said to me, think of a dark time in your life, and did it ever get better? Mm-hmm. And it always did. There was always a light, no matter how dim, at the end of the tunnel. And so when I start to hear myself say too many times, well, I'm worried, I'm concerned, I'm feeling anxious, and I hear it because it's there. Mm-hmm. And I want to honor that, but at the same time, I don't want to become it. Exactly. So I try to be very careful to remind myself, I am feeling these feelings, and that's perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. Feel what I'm feeling, but I also need to have faith that this is a temporary thing. It depends on your situation, of course, but as far as this global thing that is happening in and of itself, mm-hmm. the pandemic mm-hmm. will mm-hmm. eventually pass.
So it's knowing it's a temporary thing, even if it's going to be a life-changing thing.
Exactly.
It's going to be a total life upsetting thing, which then that too shall pass. But to your point before about the details and the facts, mm-hmm. there's an interesting concept in philosophy that, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly anymore, but reductio ad absurdum, that we can reduce things down into absurdity.
Right.
And anything any of us have ever gone through, that we entered it thinking, there's no way out of this one. But yet we come out when someone asks down the line, boy, how'd you ever get through that? You might have like a 5-minute conversation about the general overview. You've just taken it and put it into a part of your story. While you were going through it, if you got too deep involved in details and the minute particles and pieces, you lose the whole picture of being able to get through. So it's holding things loosely and lightly and from a healthy distance, enough that you can have a perspective, as with our own feelings or with a situation around us. Otherwise, we can get sucked into the feeling or get sucked into the situation.
Right.
And then everything is just spinning around. And of course, we describe things in extremes, and we're always working for the middle.
Yeah, the balance has been challenging, I think, for a lot of people, in particular, if you are, well, I'll put it in terms of what's going on with me right now. There's a family member who's transitioning, let's say, into the next phase, whatever that might be, of life. And it's painful because she's a big part of our family, and she is one of those incredibly dynamic people who everybody wants to be around all the time, and she's not that person anymore. And there are, the family is feeling a lot of grief, and it's especially poignant because, like so many people who are losing loved ones right now, we can't be there. We can't visit. And if she passes before all of this happens, we cannot come together and grieve as a family. And that's really become a painful thing. And I, as sad and heartbroken as I am, I have been relying on, strangely enough, a Winnie the Pooh quote. And Winnie the Pooh said, "How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard." Mm. I absolutely love that quote. I happen to be a big fan of the philosopher Winnie the Pooh. Love the book, The Tao of Pooh. It's such a gentle way of thinking about it. Yeah, this is painful. And a lot of people are experiencing the pain of losing loved ones, whether it's to COVID or to whatever might be happening. And while it's especially difficult now, it's never easy to lose someone you love, I'm sure, having experienced it myself, but doing it during a time when we can't give people hugs or say goodbye or whatever it is we need to do, the way that we grieve, it just makes it especially hard. And it's challenging to maintain a healthy distance right now. But if I don't, I become the grief. And that's not useful for anyone at all.
And
so instead,
to deny your grief. I mean, to be able to, as you said before, be aware of your grief and accept your grief, and then to do something with that. To do something with that energy. Very, very different from when we get lost in either all the details or lost in any of the one or more experiences that could be coming up in regards to a situation.
And that is exactly what has sort of helped me get through this, is helping the family members who are struggling to get through it, is letting them sort of like get through their grief. And it's only on the phone, but I spend a lot of time, trying to just help them through it. And it's not much, but it's what I can do, and it's helping them and it's helping me, and it's the best way we can connect at the moment.
Exactly. At the moment when all the typical ways that we would do this, all the rituals, shows you how important rituals are, have been interrupted. So we have to come up with new rituals, new ways. Not always easy, and not ways that we like. But it is the adjustment that happens once you accept something. Saying, okay, this is here, this is now. And certainly when we know things are going to end, it makes it a lot easier. But when you don't know when things are going to end or how they're going to end or if they're going to end, it really forces us to come into the present. And to come into the present more centered, meaning that we're closer to that place of faith as opposed to uncentered, which puts us in stress, which is going to be fear. We're either going to fight with that fear or flee with that fear or just succumb to the fear. To be able to get closer to your own faith. What do you have faith in? What does faith mean to you? And whether it is a religious definition or a non-religious definition, it's a definition that provides a story like Winnie the Pooh, a softer, bigger image that enables you to say, yeah, we're in a tough spot right now. Kevin loves to raft, and sometimes we'll talk about rivers and such. And, sometimes you're on a part of the river that's so smooth and tranquil, and you really don't know what's going to be around the corner. And to be in that tranquil place, waiting for the next shoe to drop, or fearful that there could be something horrible that happens, as we said in the write-ups there, makes it a really exhausting way to walk through life. As opposed to being in that center point where you're grateful, you're even grateful that you have the opportunity to do something in the situation where no one else is able to do anything. But in the center point where you're grateful and you're moving and you're happy and you're careful and you're wise and you're not putting yourself in harm's way.
And grateful to have had that person in my life, the people in my life who are, struggling. And we're all, I shouldn't say all, but I think so many people, whether the person is close or far, we know people who are moving through this life.
Yes.
And it's tough, but how lucky we are. I wouldn't give it up. I wouldn't have given up the time. Right. And that's part of faith too, is like when you love someone, whether it's a parent, a child, a husband or wife, or a pet, or a friend, that comes with risk, right. The risk of losing that person. Right. But I have faith in that. Like I have faith in the fact that having those connections will help, what's the word I'm looking for? Buoy me in times of struggle.
Yes.
Because I'm going to, inevitably, each of us is going to lose some people before it's our turn. It's just the way life.
Right. Before it's our turn.
It's our turn, right. And you know what? And different people have different beliefs on what happens in that next phase.
Right.
I just have faith that it'll be okay because everybody's had to do it. And I'm okay with that. And faith in the unknown, I guess.
I think that we arrive by birth and we depart by death. Mm-hmm. We never know when, where, how, with whom that time of departure is going to come. Mm-hmm. But the time of departure is going to come. And, how people perceive that is so interesting. And that, some people, like my mom passed away a couple of months ago, and some people will say to me, I'm sorry to hear that you lost your mom. Well, I don't feel like I lost my mom. I don't believe my mom has passed away. My own belief is that my mom has passed on. And just like my dad passed on when I was a kid, at times of trouble, I'd feel him near. Something would happen. Now, was it my dad, my guardian angels? I don't know what it was, but something was there. And with my mom's passing, my sense is too that she is there. Now, some might say, oh, that's just, your imagination playing tricks on you. Mm-hmm. Well, if it is, I'll keep it because it works. And I enjoy it. Yeah. And when I have worked with clients who they have a less faithful view of death and a more fearful view of death, it makes their journey from the moment when we're sitting there talking or through the screen to when they get to their end a lot more miserable than a person whose position is, I believe in my religion, I believe in my faith, I believe in my God, I believe in whatever they believe, reincarnation, whatever they believe in. But the belief serves to buoy them, serves to strengthen them. Mm-hmm. Knowing, as we've often said, that we cannot do this alone. If you don't have another person, maybe have a book, but times in my own life where it was down to a book or two or a couple of friends, and then grace of family, friends, kindred spirits. And for some people, they never meet in person their kindred spirits, but they're seeing them on screen or they're reading in books or whatever the case might be. But that there are others out there for us, not only tangibly and physically, but also as if they were conduits to help, say, my mom get something through to me. Then my wife comes in and does something, or his phone rings. These magical moments that we can watch for. And as I learned early on in life, that if you begin to watch for coincidences and just take note of coincidences as opposed to dismissing them. Was a funny thing happened, that's really strange. No, just watch for the coincidences and start to take notice. It's humbling, humbling to realize that there are factors and forces at play well beyond your own little ego. And I don't mean you, Kristen. I mean,
no, I know the royal you. I get it.
my own as well. That ego that you're continually wanting to soften and soften and soften. Not get rid of completely, because then you're gone, but to soften to the point where it's like a semi-permeable membrane, where you're able to be compassionate and caring and have the healthy distance to not have everything drained from you, which then is drained from everything and everyone else you're tethered to. But finding a place of balance where you're able to be a good influence wherever and however you are. Now, of course, as I said before, I'm speaking in ideal extremes. If we can, who can really do that 100% 24/7? But to at least have the ideals as North Stars, as positions and places to go to, and finding your way, which is right for you to do it. Your way, which is right for you. There's no one right way for anyone.
I agree. I feel that in a way, being raised without a particular religion, strangely, I feel like I have a very strong faith. And it's a faith that the unknown is okay. I'm very comfortable with the unknown. I've never really feared. I can't say I've never feared the unknown, of course. Starting a new job, moving to a new state, whatever it is, those things can be scary, but I've always been comfortable. Like, it's okay, I'm afraid, but I'm going to just know that it'll be all right. Right. And I think that, has helped me personally. And I love when people have that strong faith in their own religion, whatever that is, because it does give them the ability to find strength during those really hard times. Exactly. And,
to find that strength.
Yeah.
Find that strength. And I was raised Catholic, so, I loved reading about saints and about Jesus, and I loved reading what, for a child, was sort of the attitudes and philosophy about living life. And although I'm not strongly affiliated with any religion anymore in my life, I don't negate that. I mean, to me, it was wonderful to think of these other people who've come before us, these saints, who were good and kind and loving, role models, if you will. And, my mom, was always much more religious, or stayed religious throughout her life. And I knew that, how much comfort that gave her. And is it right? Is it wrong? It's a conduit. It's a conduit through faith to the factors and forces that be, what we call God, or some people call love, some people universal energy, or prana, life energy in India, chi, life energy in Chinese, ki in Japanese, all these different ways that we get attuned to energy. And when you are born, your life energy comes in, and then your life energy goes out. Probably better to say your life spirit comes in, and then your life spirit goes out, and then that spirit continues. And I believe that when we get to the other side, it's going to be far beyond what our little pea brains ever thought it was anyway. So have something that kind of keeps you moving toward the light.
Isn't there something about when you use the word energy, it made me think energy, it doesn't die. I mean, it exists. And we are kind of like balls of energy. So the body doesn't continue. But there's something there. And I guess that I kind of have faith in that concept. Which
as you get older like me, you feel that as you go through your life. Life spirit is there, but your body is saying, gee, what's going on here?
Already feeling it. So I actually do feel you. But yeah.
But these are hard times, and these are times that are hard in the most global sense. I mean, the whole world is like fracturing, financially, religiously, politically, socially, morally, ethically, and people are rising up. They're saying things, they're taking to the streets, they're writing checks, they're doing things. So, it's a scary time of not knowing what's ahead, becoming less scary as you begin to cultivate your own faith that this too shall pass. We can get through this. We are getting through this. And maybe I could even do something within my sphere of influence. So that as we proceed through this for however many weeks or months or years or decades this takes, depending on what your end view is, that within my sphere, let me do my best. Knowing some days I'll do better than others. Mm-hmm. Let me cultivate my courage. Let me cultivate my faith. Let me pay attention to what I'm thinking, what I'm saying to myself. Am I thinking my mom passed away, like disintegrated? Or am I thinking my mom has passed on? Well, I can feel more of my mom passing on than my mom just going into oblivion. And at the end of my life, if it winds up that I was wrong and it's all oblivion, well, I had a pretty good time in the meantime. Yes, right. It's free to kind of move through to that point. So I find there's no harm in cultivating wiser views. And by wise, I mean simply bigger, more healthy distance overview where you could see the bigger picture and not be stuck in the middle of all the changing turmoil and details.
Yeah, and there are so many people I feel like right now to turn to for wisdom. Mm-hmm. The movements that are happening are so, there's so much upheaval. Mm. And yet there's a spirit of faith, I think, that we can fix what's broken. Hopefully we can fix what's broken. And I have been looking to the wise ones. No one wiser than my little now 9-year-old niece, who is back in her hospital bed. She knew she was going in for a really tough treatment. She was scared, and she was like, yeah, I'm afraid, but I'm going to be okay. And she knows she'll be okay. And her mom and dad know she'll be okay. And I know she'll be okay. And we talk about it, and she's strong. Right. And she's brave. She's scared, but she's brave. Mm-hmm. And she is, a beacon for me of faith. And my aunt, the one who is passing, she is moving through, I call it transitioning from whatever we are having here to whatever comes next. Yeah. I don't know. But when my niece got so sick, and this was before my aunt was really in the last stages, she said, I'm making peace with this. Watching what Sophie is dealing with, she's just sort of making peace with it. And it was the first time I'd ever heard her say that. Yeah,
that's beautiful. And
it was beautiful.
Yeah, and from, individual people coming to the end of their life, or paradigms on a global sense coming to the end of its life, the end is the transitioning. It's not an end, stop, oblivion, I choose to believe. Right. But it's an end, continuation. And again, if we look for those magic moments, if we look for the synchronicity, for those God winks, I think it's a silly name, but there was books written some years ago about that. All these various ways that it is being shown to us that there's more going on here than our little pea brains understand. That there's helping hands that arrive. You mentioned your niece. I often mention my granddaughter in our talks. At this pure age, that when she's most centered, man, it's like she's reading your mind, and we're playing games, and I'm thinking to say something, and it's almost like she's answering before I say it. And that's what we become when we are more centered. When we become more centered, closer to our soul, our spirit, our true self, perspectives, perceptions open up, your senses open up. When we are away from that in the other direction of stress and fear and fight, everything narrows in. And the only thought is survive. Well, I mean, our own ancestors have been through things far tougher than what we're going through right now. And now is our turn. And our turn in coming through this in as healthy a form as we can. So when we do go into the next phase, of whatever that phase is going to be, we're better prepared. Mm-hmm. And interpersonally, to make those connections where you can, it is so important. And that increases your faith. Very much so when you get that call out of the blue from someone you weren't expecting, but maybe you were thinking about that. That happened to me today with someone I haven't spoke to in many, many weeks. And I was just thinking about him, and then the phone rang within 2 hours of him. And unfortunately, I couldn't speak to him, but I said, I'll talk to you maybe in 2 days. But to know you're connected, to feel the connection for an individual who is getting ready to transition, and for all of us collectively, knowing that, we're transitioning. Things are going to we don't know how.
Having faith that good will win, I hope.
Yeah.
That the right things will happen, and that we can all live peacefully. That's the ideal, right? Is that we're all hoping to live peacefully together, and everybody accept and appreciate and allow for all of the differences in the world. And I have faith that we're moving toward that.
Yeah. I remember when Gandhi said, when I despair, which at that point I thought, wait a minute, Gandhi despairs? But yes, his words. When I despair, I remember that love always prevails. Love always prevails. And we say, but look, in history, at times love did not prevail, hate came in. Yeah, but then love remained alive after that. And another wave of negativity came in, but the positive, good energy of love kept coming through. So to believe that you have some belief system, some words, concepts, stories, images, favorite authors, favorite stories, have things that give you a sense of, I can love life. I can be a loving influence on life. And I wish I could do it more, because you're never going to do it 100%. But you get it in the high numbers where you feel pretty good most of the time, that you're doing a lot of good most of the time, that you really matter, and so on and so forth.
And the yin and the yang, the good and evil, evil and good.
Up and down.
But if we're feeding our good wolf, hopefully the good in us is what shines through.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're going to have some negativity from time to time, whether it's something, a negative thought, a negative action, negativity that comes our way. But if we continue to feed our good wolves, ideally, we can have more positive experiences, be of more positive influence all the way around.
And as Jorge said at the end of one of our talks, one of our other consultants, to go easy on yourself.
Yeah.
When you do fail and you do a bad job and you're not being as loving as you want to be, to respond to yourself as if that too, you were your own best friend. Mm-hmm. In a sense, the most loving part of us is always trying to come through this outer conditioned part of us with its complexes and neuroses and conditionings and social programming, all the nonsense that gets in there. Mm-hmm. The inner spirit is continually coming through. And it's like having faith in yourself as opposed to being afraid of yourself. But having faith that even if there are things in your outer self you really don't like, having faith that you could be stronger than that. Having faith that you can handle that. Right. And doing everything you can to do that. And for some people, it means I need to take some medication. Or for some people, it means I need to get an operation. Or someone, I need to call in a consultant. I need to go and ask my neighbor. I need to find that person in my own family who is my family's life coach that we can talk to. It used to be a time when people lived closer together and there'd be people you could go to. I know in my own earlier years, cousins or grandfather and so on, my dad, but there would be people. And now with everyone so fractured, like the global sense here, so busy, so entrained in different directions that, it can get kind of lonely out there for people. And for all of us to be able to have people in our lives with whom we feel they're really friends. It's our kindred spirits, or whatever word you want to use, family. Whether or not they're blood relatives or not, giving you that feeling as we are connected, we are together, which is maybe what this whole pandemic is continually trying to shake us into realizing. And do unto others. That's that point you said before, we're all trying to get to. Love, and you're never going to get there perfectly, but we all want more of that in our lives, not selfishly, but for everyone that we care about. And if you keep caring, it becomes more and more people to everybody.
Yeah, and the knowing when to reach out, I think, is so important. Having faith in yourself that you know when to reach out. Somebody recently said to me, they were struggling with something and someone inside their family was attempting to help them and they just couldn't hear it.
Right.
But then they got an outside helper.
Right.
Someone who wasn't emotionally attached. And
distance again.
The healthy distance. And that, working that out now, all of a sudden, all of the support that existed already became, now I can accept this support. Now I'm surrounded by support, and that's helping me thrive and grow as a human being. And sometimes that's what we need. We need to have faith in ourselves to know when to reach out for help. Exactly. And a lot of us need to do that right now. Yeah. This is a time of struggle.
Exactly. And that's what philosophy means. It means a love of wisdom. And wisdom is the perspective you get as you get more of a healthy distance from a situation. The God's eye view. You see the whole situation. And you're able to say, we're in some pretty tough waters. So hold on to the oars, make sure the supplies are intact, help one another, and we'll get through this. And that's the only image you need to have, as opposed to, did you hear what he did today? And you hear what's going to happen tomorrow? And the stock market went up and it went down. And you're going to want to look at every rapid in the river. You're never going to get through it. But you're in the midst of incredible shifts and changes. Incredible. Go to a store, it's a whole new experience. Want to connect with a loved one, a whole new experience. Mm-hmm. Even many times the food you're eating different because you can't go and pick the melons out you want. It's coming through. So it's a different world, financially, economically, religions, churches closing down. Mm-hmm. And people taking to the streets, wanting their voices to be heard. So it's a very interesting time that we live in. So, my sweet friend, as we come to the end of our time, what last things would you like to say to anyone listening?
I love the topic of faith, and I love the idea of using it to move through this fearful time. And I think of the real, genuine fears that people are experiencing in such a variety of ways. And I wish for each and every one of them. I recently wished this for someone: faith, disorientation, and peace. Because we need to be disoriented to grow as human beings. And and if we have faith through feeling that sense of disorientation, we will find peace. Yeah. And so I guess I wish that to all of us.
During this time of
massive disorientation.
Well, our orientations have been dissed. A whole orientation to life is dissed. Yeah. We're going to put it back together now, but let's put it back together from our hearts in terms of community and connectedness and what life
and awareness of what's going on, the awareness that maybe we didn't have before, and we've got a whole new perspective.
But we certainly didn't have it before, so if we had it before, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Good point. That's so true.
Do we have it all? No, because we'll go through further situations. My granddaughter and great-grandchildren, that's the way life, that's called evolution. Mm-hmm. We are growing. So we wish everyone peace and strength and courage and faith. And hopefully we'll see you next time. And be well and be safe. Good night.
Good night.